Welcome to The Reality of Family Law with Bartos and Company.
Welcome to The Reality of Family Law with Bartos and Company. David S. Bartos is the managing attorney at Bartos and Company, LPA, helping clients across Northeast Ohio navigate divorce, custody, child support, and other difficult family law matters. I'm Shameika Rhymes, and today we're talking about the difference between contested and uncontested divorce in Ohio. Welcome, David.
Hi, how are you today? Good to be back.
Good to see you. I'm so glad you are back. Well, David, to start, can you explain the difference between a contested divorce and an uncontested divorce in Ohio?
Well, there's two essential different, depending on the context, two different types of uncontested. One is that the parties agree on everything, and it's kind of like, hey, how you doing? Yeah, we're here to get a divorce, and we have everything worked out. That's also called like a dissolution, where it's uncontested. You both agree on everything, and we get to the court hearing, and hey, this is what we agreed to. The other type of uncontested is a complaint for divorce gets filed, and the other party doesn't file their answer within 30 or 28 days, 30 days. And the court sets a hearing and say, hey, this person wants a divorce. The other party didn't engage, hasn't filed a response. So we're going to have an uncontested hearing where the party that filed the divorce complaint just puts on the record, yeah, we were married here at this date, whether there's kids, financial issues, whatever, and this is what we have, and we're dividing it. We would like the court to divide it. It's essentially when you either agree completely, like in a dissolution, or the other party doesn't show up to do the actual hearings for divorce.
Okay.
And a contested one is exactly like it sounds. We don't agree. We're having problems dividing things, doing kids' issues, those items. So it becomes contested. So one is a lot harder than the other, which is the contested divorce. And, that goes into the full gambit of getting documents, hashing out disputes, different things like that.
Okay. Well, what usually pushes a divorce from relatively cooperative into the contested situation?
Well, usually it's kids' issues.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody thinks that they're trying to work the best for their children, and there's disagreement. There's a couple places that, become more contested where there's more, one party has more power than the other. Let's say like, like my marriage, my wife controls the finances.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what the monthly bills are. I don't know what income we're working with other than my own. And those, of course, work out great if you trust the other person. It's when it goes south that
Right.
there's problems. Okay. Kids' issues always. One parent always thinks that the other parent is trying to cut them out, go above and beyond what they're doing. There's, kids' issues such as like doctor's appointments. Okay. In the past, mom may have taken the children to every doctor's visit. Now all of a sudden, dad wants to know when these visits or when these appointments are, and they run into mom not telling because mom never told them. She just took care of it. Likewise with the business, if you have closely held businesses, such as a law firm or whatever, where the other parent doesn't have a lot of knowledge of what goes on, how much money the business actually brings in, issues like that. Usually it's the beginning of a divorce is usually a lot more contested, and at the very end it's a lot more contested, because at the beginning everybody's high on emotion, and it's like, well, when do I get to see my kids? She's not letting me see the kids. So that becomes a point of contention. One person controlling the money, one person cutting off the other of credit cards, or, cutting you out of the kid's life. Well, I've always said I've always read the kids a nighttime story before they went to bed. I'm not in the house right now, and mom's stopping me from doing that, whether by phone or whatever. One of the biggest issues that pulls it out of contested, or it becomes more, well, it becomes more contested rather than cooperative, is um, the communication, and we're going to get more into that, I believe, later on. But productive communication, where the parties are not um, fighting about the past.
Mhm.
Of course, that always becomes a roadblock to communication. You always did XYZ. You never listened to me. In all my 26 years of doing this, you're not going to change somebody after a divorce. You've been trying and trying and trying. The communication rarely gets better. It could get more productive, but it's still one person is not communicating enough and having that productive communication.
Do you see where maybe a third party, say, because you see it all the time, especially on social media, because people put their business on social media all the time. Dad has moved, the husband or the wife has moved on, and they have a new boo in their life. Does that then push it into contested?
Well, it depends on the other party. It really depends on the spouse that has a new boyfriend
Mhm.
or whatever. Because I had a case recently where they moved away, but then mom said, "I'm moving in with a boyfriend." Well, now that's where the kids are going to be. That's what
Oh.
mom is dealing with. And it's like, who is this guy? What's his name? And of course, once those questions come out, who is this guy? You don't need to know. And it's like, okay, he could be a convicted felon. He could be a drug addict. He could be all those things, which always throws monkey wrenches into a cooperative divorce, or uncontested, where you would want it to be.
Right.
So that becomes an issue. Um, there's lots of different things. Not wanting to turn over documents, those arguments, like, okay, hey, what's the credit card bill right now? Well, you're not getting that information. And it's like, well, we're trying to work towards a common goal. We're getting a divorce. Okay. And of course, if someone doesn't want the divorce, that's always a problem too. We
Oh,
can
yeah.
work on this. We can't, we don't have to go through this. Or, so that type of communication, or lack thereof, is usually a problem for getting a divorce done.
Yeah. Well, speaking of communication, how much does that communication between spouses affect the overall direction and cost of a divorce case?
Well, I tell clients, I go, listen, the more you want to fight, the more you don't want to communicate, and everything has to go through their attorneys, is always a problem. It always adds a lot of money to litigation, especially when there's children involved. At some point, the courts are going to be gone, the attorneys are going to be gone, just in general, the expense of it. But at the end of the day, I like to see my clients being able to communicate about children and about doctor's appointments and finances, and hey, I know it's your summer, but there's this camp that the child wants to go to. Can we communicate that? It's going to cost XYZ. If the attorneys aren't there to be the go between from all of them,
Mhm.
that becomes a huge, huge problem. There's different ways to improve communication with different social apps. There's several of them out there. One is Talking Parents, where it's like a closed universe email, and Our Family Wizard, where there's shared calendars, there's emails. There's also, if you buy the higher version of it, a tone meter. If someone's coming off aggressive, the AI will tell you, "Hey, you're coming off pretty aggressive there. This might not be taken too well." So there's different apps to help with that. And there's always the basics. Taking a communication course, how to improve communication. I know in Cuyahoga County, they have a, children in between seminar on for parents going through divorce with children. They teach you some skills that, of course, it's up to you whether you implement them or not. But there's different things that I direct clients to gain an understanding and some skills about how to improve the relationship.
Well, are there certain situations where trying to keep a divorce uncontested isn't really going to be realistic?
There's always those cases. Cases of domestic violence, which sometimes, rears its ugly head when, they're not getting along. They're heading towards divorce and someone gets more aggressive. Someone lays hands on the other ones. Those rarely work towards being uncontested. They're usually contested. One of the parents is an active or short-term remission of drug use, alcoholism. Those issues always push it into the uncontested range. It's rare. It does happen, but it's very, very rare that somebody says, well, I've got an alcohol problem or a drug problem. And hey, listen, I understand. I'm going to be doing XYZ. Okay. There is, well, in that regards, there's different ways to say, hey, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. There are different things that you could do because alcohol is hard to test for. Okay. But there's, app that is called SoberLink, and they do alcohol breathalyzer tests over the internet where you blow into the machine. It takes a picture of you when you're blowing into the machine. Do you come up with any alcohol in your system? And some of the alcohol tests, it stays in your system a while. You test positive for alcohol even if you've stopped drinking 3 or 4 hours ago or previously. Different things like that. But the alcohol use, drug use, domestic violence, and specifically when parents truly believe they are acting in the children's best interest that the other parent doesn't agree with.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So everybody thinks, oh, she's doing this to punish me, but most of the time it really is, I'm trying to look out for my children's best interests. So that becomes a contention.
Wow, it seems like there's an app for everything. And how do you is it
Unfortunately, all of them cost money. The best thing to do is, try and communicate, try to communicate. Don't use drugs. I mean, it's all everything we should have learned when we were in kindergarten.
Mhm.
Share, communicate, talk. But yeah, there's apps for everything, and they all cost money, and that's lawyers cost money. It doesn't get prettier.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it. Well, let's talk about what issues tend to create the biggest disagreements in divorce cases.
Well, like I was saying, the children's issues are always a problem. People thinking they know better for the kids, and he's just a bad person. And I hear this all the time from everybody, and they have no training with. He's just a narcissist. She's just a narcissist. She just likes to control everything, right? And it gets down to, um, those things that run into a problem. One of the other problems is, of course, finances. One person has always been the financial manager of the household. And, a wife might think dad spends or husband spends way too much money on gaming. That's a new one that's recent in the last, 5 or 6 years. Dad spends $200 a month on buying the upgraded armor for XYZ app. And, he gets cut off from the credit cards, or husband cuts mom off from the credit cards. Oh, I'm paying child support, but she just got her nails done and her hair done, and she just bought a new car, and I'm not paying for the kids, I'm paying for her lifestyle. those become an issue. The small businesses that people own. Where's the money going? It's so easy to hide money when you own your own business. It just kind of disappears. Something gets bought. A husband or wife will take out a friend or a relative out to dinner, and somehow it becomes a business expense that it was, oh, I'm just networking for the business. Oh, well, you're going out and buying money, spending money for lunch, and, they might be giving you cash. Hey, let's go out and have lunch, but I'm going to put it on my business credit card, but you're going to give me cash for your half, and then I got more money to spend and I get to write it off. And, different things like that really, really become an issue. Most of the the biggest times clients' money is spent is at the very beginning, searching for a status quo that everybody is okay with. How many days at the beginning does somebody get to see the kids? What child support or spousal support is going to be paid? Those are but right away expenses. At the end, of course, when we've got all the documents, when we've got the things, then it becomes more money because we're trying to work out a deal, and the devil is in the detail. Like, oh, we agree on 50-50 parenting time. Well, that's great, but how does that work? Is it 2 days with mom, then 2 days with dad, and you alternate weekends? Or is it just a week on, week off? That they have the kids. Right. So devil is in the details. How many times does a father or mother get to call their kids when the children are not with them? Well, we usually have it open at any time. Okay, great. But when it becomes an issue, what's the backup? What's the default? Right? Because you can have an agreement on paper as much as you want. You don't really have to follow it. If you agree on something else in the moment, yeah, change it. It's when they don't agree. It's like we have to have a good default paperwork to say, if we disagree, this is how we're doing it. I hope I'm giving good information, but
you are. I'm so intrigued by all of this. In case I have a divorce later on.
You have 100 attorneys that you deal with doing this on these podcasts.
No, this is so interesting. This has been a great conversation, very informative. Now I know the difference, and the audience knows the difference between contested and uncontested divorce in Ohio. So thank you again, David.
No problem.
Well, that is it for today's episode of The Reality of Family Law with Bartos and Company. If you'd like to learn more about David S. Bartos and the work his team does, visit bartoscompany.com. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to leave a review, and subscribe to the show so that you don't miss the next episode.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.